2, 1. 107.5 WGCI, the size #1 for hip hop and R&B. Shout out to Sean Mack for that Throwback Thursday mix, man. Definitely appreciate you for that, dog. You know what it is, the morning show. Leon Rogers, Corey B is in for Kendra J.
Good morning.
Shortest damn man in Chicago, myself, Kyle. Let's get into these headlines. And in this particular headline break, we've been talking about it now for a week. You know, the Chicago teachers are on strike. And we had the president of CPS in here a week or so ago, right before the strike happened. And we want to make sure that we're addressing both sides and trying to get all the information out there as much as possible. So right now, Chicago, we have Miss Stacey Davis, the vice president of CTU, in the building, the Chicago Teachers Union. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for taking the time to come in and just kind of talk to us about what it is that you guys are going through at the moment. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Now, we know you're busy. There's some things that we know. We know that there was money that you guys were fighting for. We know that you guys were fighting for smaller class sizes, nurses in every school, counselors in every school. But what are some of the things that maybe the general public may not know about that is kind of holding up this process as far as getting kids back in school?
So the vast majority of everything that 30,000 workers in the Chicago public schools, from bus aides to teachers' assistants, school clerks, and teachers are fighting for, are things that never get to go home with them, right? They're looking for nurses to be in the school buildings 5 days a week, social workers to deal with the trauma that our children come into the school communities with. These are things that are necessary to sustain the school community in a way where kids are able to learn. Listen, we live in a violent city. Like, that's a fact. And the violence visits our classrooms. To be in a situation as a teacher where you do not have the skills to deal with that is not only heartbreaking because you can't do it well, but it's also a problem because you're not servicing the child in front of you appropriately enough. And so this fight has been, for the last 10 years, about giving students what they deserve in the Chicago public schools.
It sounds like, if I was just to put it in layman's terms, like, how can I teach this kid math when he's dealing with so much at home and bringing it to the classroom, and he's not willing to learn anything. He's just dealing with the trauma first.
Or if he is homeless, right? So
Right.
we have
School
almost
is
20,000.
Right.
We have almost 20,000 homeless students in the Chicago public schools right now. Look, I'm a high school history teacher. I taught at Inglewood. I taught at Clemente. I taught at Mason, North Lindale, Humboldt Park, and Inglewood. I understand what children who do not have come into the classrooms with, right? And it's difficult. The last thing someone who doesn't have a stable shelter comes in thinking about is handing in his homework.
Right.
Yeah.
They just
Yeah.
got a place, they got a warm room to sit
Right.
in.
Yeah.
So listen, the teacher's contract has to be about more than wages and benefits. The teacher's contract is one of the very few things in the Chicago public schools that involve people pushing forth policies that are counter to what the Board of Education provides. Look, we're under mayoral control. We've been under mayoral control since 1995. The Board of Education is not elected, it's appointed. In order to have our voices heard, we have to fight for that to happen. And so when you see us in the streets, 30,000 plus strong, we're not just out there as teachers, we're out there with our parents, we're out there with our students. I have 3 Chicago public school students. My baby is in kindergarten, and she told me last night when I got home, she was like, "Mommy, I want to go back to school. I miss going to school." And I need her to go back to school.
Yeah.
So I guess, I've always said this, that I understand what you all are doing, and me personally, bureaucracy messes up a lot of things for me. Especially when it comes to the children, because we talk about how we want our babies to be in school and be off the streets, yet and still, they're not in school off the streets. I talked to some of my little young guys who play football and all this, and this is the reason, sadly, why they go to school. But if we can get them in school for that, is there any way that the city and the teachers union could concede and have the students back in school and still work at getting the other stuff without having the kids being out of school? That's my whole thing.
No, that's a great question. It's a fair question. Listen, we've been at the table for the last 10 months. 10 months. Chicago Public Schools did not start giving us real counter proposals until last Thursday.
Until it got real.
Until it got real.
Okay.
And so, listen, we wanted to do this and not be out of school. The last thing any of the teachers and the school clerks, they don't want to be on the streets right now. They know how valuable that school community is to most of our students, right? And so they don't want to do that. This is why you plan in advance. Like, we've been in this process for almost a year now. And again, when it got real last Thursday, they started passing things across the table. Like, let's talk about class size, right? Over in Chatham at Arthur Ashe, there are like almost 40 kindergartners in one classroom, right? Bronzeville, Beasley Elementary School, they have 3 third-grade classrooms. Those kids, almost 40 in each classroom. Tell me how you can provide a quality education in circumstances like that. And these are not like new issues. There are 1,300 oversized classrooms in the Chicago public schools right now. Most schools only see a school nurse 1 day a week.
Wow.
These are issues that we have to get right. Look, we have a mayor who basically swept the city. And she swept the city because she promised equity. This contract, she can be a hero. I'm going to tell you the truth. Like, if a black woman in Chicago cannot give black kids equity, justice, then who going to give it to us?
That's it.
That's fair.
Question
That's
for
fair.
you. So with all of that being said, you know, with everybody going through what they're going through right now, how far out do you feel like we are from having some sort of resolution?
So we counted up that there were 80 tentative agreements that the Board of Education, CPS, and the Chicago Teachers Union, we've signed off on. The vast majority of our contract, it isn't as sexy. It's real technical. Only if you work in the school building do you even understand what it means. Like, you all do very technical things in this booth right now that I'll never understand. You'll just point and say do, and I'll say okay. And that, right? And that is like the vast majority of what we deal with in a teacher's contract.
Yeah.
Those things we've met in the middle. We've been able to, get a tentative agreement on. The sticking point, quite frankly, is that we need more grown-ups in the school building. If you don't have more grown-ups in the school building, it's actually not safe. The other sticking point is we have too many children in one classroom. We do. And so you can't say I wrote it down in pencil to erase it later when you say I don't have the money for it. The Chicago Public Schools has $1 billion more, $1 billion with a B, more dollars than it had last year because we have a new school funding formula. That new school funding formula is supposed to lower class sizes. It is supposed to offer resources for special education. It's supposed to offer bilingual supports, wraparound services, nurses, counselors, social
So
workers.
you're saying, where's the money going?
Where's the money going, man? And and they always have this mantra, like, bless her heart, yesterday she said that she's not offering our schools a bailout. What does a bailout mean? Look, we know what bail is. That's when you did something that they said you did wrong.
Yeah.
Or when Wall Street bankers crashed the economy. We're doing everything right. Listen, we're not the enemies in Chicago. We are the gladiators in Chicago. We are the people who all of Chicago drops their children off to every single day. You wouldn't drop your kids off to an enemy, would you?
No.
Right.
You wouldn't drop your kids off to someone you couldn't trust. Believe teachers when they tell you what they need.
No doubt.
I have a question, and I always say this, and I say it on stage a lot, that I believe that our teachers are the first real live superheroes for our children, because you guys get them so many hours of the day, and you get a lot of stuff that we don't get. Once they close that door, you guys have to deal with that, and we're talking about class size. Now, we're saying that almost 40 kids on an average per class size. What should be the standard? Like, if you're going to a north side school or a suburban school, what do their classes look like, just so that we can give a comparison?
You shouldn't have more than 20 kindergartners in a classroom with a teacher's assistant.
Period.
So, like,
That's like a college lecture.
Yeah, it's like a lecture hall.
Right.
Well, listen, this is something that we have a tentative agreement on. Both CTU and CPS, we both agree that there should only be 10 pre-K students in one classroom with one person. So it's a 10-to-1 ratio, right? 10 kids, 1 grown-up. So if we can agree to that for our pre-kindergarten students, I'm sure we should be able to come to an agreement about everyone else.
What about the when we had Miss Jackson and she said about the social workers and the nurses in the schools, why they were hesitant with that, because she said there was a shortage in those I'm just quoting. She said there was a shortage,
Right.
and they didn't want to admit to that and concede to
They
that
were promising and not be able to
promise
fulfill it.
and not be able to fulfill the promise, and then you all would be upset again that you don't have the social workers in there. How do you respond to that?
So, Lincoln Yards. It's gonna. You all have been in New York, Hudson Yards.
Mm-hmm.
Hudson Yards is a dope playground. We're gonna build something like that in Lincoln Yards in Chicago. Lincoln Yards it's going to be a playground for the wealthy, right? The city of Chicago has given billions of dollars to build that.
1.3 billion. I actually talked
Yep.
about it earlier this
Yeah.
morning.
they did.
So you making me beg
Mm,
for a lower class size in Chatham,
mm.
and over in Lincoln Park you about to get them $1.3 billion to build a playground? Why is it always that black folks gotta adjust and figure it out and wait? Why? For 400 years, we have been having the same discussion about what black folks need in this country. And in Chicago, these are not new struggles. You have a black mayor, you have a black CEO, you got a black vice president of the Chicago Teachers Union. We can figure out equity and how to put black children to the front of the line.
That's
Easy.
right. That's right.
Absolutely. Look, thank you so much for coming in today, expressing your side
stuff.
of this disagreement. We at the end of the day, we want everybody to get what the kids need. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
we thank you for taking the time to hang out with us. Chicago, we've been sitting here talking, of course, this morning with the Vice President of the CTU, Miss Stacey Davis, and we appreciate your time. And man, you got to get back out there and get to work.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. I appreciate you all.